Hey everybody, welcome to Donald's English Corner. And in this video, we are going to talk about what is, for many Americans, the most frightening day of the year. No, it's not Halloween, and no, it's not the anniversary that you forgot. It is, in fact, April 15th, otherwise known as Tax Day. To find out why this day causes so much panic, anxiety, and fear amongst Americans, keep watching. Let's get started. So what is Tax Day? So Tax Day is April 15th. Now, if April 15th happens to fall on a weekend, like a Saturday or Sunday, then the government pushes it back to the next Monday. But April 15th is legally Tax Day. And that is the day that all Americans who owe money to the government are required to pay it. That is the deadline. Now, can you pay your taxes before April 15th? Of course. Do most people do that? That's debatable, but probably not. So, why is Tax Day scary? Why do people have so much fear, frustration, and anxiety when it comes to Tax Day? Well, one of the obvious answers is that people are terrified about paying tax. Do they have enough money to pay the tax that they owe? And even before that, how much tax do they owe? Here in the United States, the tax laws are complex. To be fair, they are quite complex. And many people who are not tax experts or accountants really struggle to find out accurately how much they owe. And this can be complicated for a lot of different reasons. Let's look at a few of them. Taxes in general in the United States are broken down at three governmental levels: the city, the state, and the federal government. Now, when people talk about tax day and taxes, they're almost always talking about federal, because federal taxes are the kind of taxes that all Americans are required to pay. State taxes vary from state to state. Some states charge an income tax or taxes in certain ways, and some don't. And the same thing with cities. Some cities charge levy an income tax, and some do not. Now, here in my situation here in Chicago, I am very lucky that Chicago does not charge an income tax. Oh, let me back up for a second. When we're talking about taxes, we're almost always talking about income taxes. The taxes that we owe the government based upon the money that we earned in the previous year. But why is this scary? So this is scary in part because historically, filing your taxes, in other words, sending all of your tax information to the government, was incredibly difficult. You used to have to fill out huge amounts of paperwork, attach receipts, explanations, etc., and then drop it into the mail before April 15th. And keeping track of one person's expenses, their deductions are things that that justify the reduction of your tax. This is really complicated. Even for a single person, this can be incredibly difficult to track. However, if you're married, if you are disabled, if you have children, or any number of circumstances, your tax can be affected. The amount of tax that you owe can be affected. So this is why tax accountants, for sure, say that you should get a tax accountant when doing your taxes. And let me give a special shout out now to one of my students, hello Carlos, for giving me the very good advice of seeking a tax accountant for my own taxes as of 2021. As you know, I resigned from the university last year and became an independent entrepreneur. Well, the taxes that I owe will change drastically based on those circumstances. So by file, I mean sending all of the relevant documentation and receipts to the government. Filing your taxes is much easier than it was 20 years ago. Now, officially, it is free for all citizens to file their taxes. However, it is incredibly complex to do it yourself and to do it by paper because you may owe money to several different government entities. And so there has been the rise, I should say, of tax preparation software. The most popular is TurboTax, which there are a lot of opinions about that. But the most common is TurboTax, which helps, for a fee, people file their taxes with these different government entities. So in reality, filing your taxes is supposed to be free, but the practical aspect is that filing your taxes can be so difficult that it requires software or expert tax accountants, including software, to get this right. And so the deadline for Americans to file their taxes is on April 15th. Now, you may have noticed the date on the board. It is currently April 5th, which means that I and everybody else in America has 10 days to file their taxes with the government. I'll give you a spoiler alert. I still haven't filed my taxes. I did seek out a tax accountant, and I started the process back in February, and then, like many people, I became quite lazy. I haven't finished it. So sometime between today and April 15th, I will be sending away my taxes and hoping that I don't owe the government a lot of money. To which government might I owe money? As I mentioned earlier, Chicago does not levy an income tax. Chicago taxes are paid primarily through property that you own or live in, or your expenses, the things that you buy in stores, right? So that's how Chicago earns its taxes from individuals. The state and the federal government, however, they do levy an income tax. And so it is very likely for a lot of people that they owe money. So what happens if you owe money? You have a certain amount of time to pay it. You can ask for an extension, but it's not very long, and it depends on your circumstances. Most people, like me, just an average person, those extensions are not very easy to get, based on my experiences. I am neither rich nor well-connected enough to get a proper extension. Now, what if the case were that the government owed you money, that you overpaid on your taxes? Well, in that case, you get what is called a tax refund. And a refund is exactly that. You have proven that you overpaid the government in the taxes that you legally owed. And so the government, whether it's at whichever level it is obliged to return or refund that excess in money to you. Now, here in America, we are inundated with commercials and advertisements and social media posts about how you can get your refund very, very quickly. Most people actually do overpay the government in the income that they earn on their regular paychecks. And the deductions. So what can go into a refund? What contributes to a refund? Well, things like donations to charity. If you give money to charity, the government allows you to deduct a certain amount of that charity from the tax that you owe. Now, it's obviously there are limits there, but it's an excellent incentive towards giving to charity as it reduces your overall tax burden. Different governments assess what tax a person owes, or the tax that a family owes in the case that they are married, or they are caring for children, or caring for a parent, an elderly person. changes drastically from state to state. And since there are 50 states in the United States, one is never quite sure what the tax responsibilities may be. And so it's always a good idea to either consult with a tax accountant or to pay for a software in which those rules and those exceptions are already built in. So I hope you all learned a little bit more about tax day in the United States. Again, probably the most scary day on the calendar for Americans is April 15th. And I didn't mention it, but I will now, is that the 3 most frightening letters for Americans is IRS. And the IRS stands for the Internal Revenue Service. And they are the government agency responsible for the collection and the refund of taxes. Very few people in America ever want to have direct contact with the IRS, as it usually means you have made a terrible mistake. Oh. So contributing to our anxiety is getting an email, a letter, or a phone call from the IRS. Nobody wants this. All right, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, of course, reach out, ask me. You've got all my contact information, and this was a lot of fun. Hopefully I'll have good news after April 15th regarding my own taxes. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.